I know this is a review that is long overdue, so bear with me as we just briefly go through the long-awaited return of a game starring a certain suited female since the 3DS era, and that is Metroid Dread. Metroid is a franchise spanning well over 30 years since its introduction in 1986. I really did not know that previously. I just enjoyed running around and shooting stuff. Hello and welcome back to GGN. This is Taylor here. This genre-defining game takes inspiration from its 2D predecessors and comes in stunning 2.5D form, showing off all kinds of bright lighting, vibrant colors where it needs to be, beautifully created and active backgrounds that give every stage way more life than expected from a Metroid game to begin with. The enemies, challenging, and the game is a visual treat right off the bat. Seriously, this game looks good right after the story clip. So in this particular story though, our bounty hunter, Samus Aran, for those that don't know the full name either, has honestly never looked better. I mean, you really should enjoy the glow from her armor when she is in especially dark places, and the light that flows with her projectiles actually when they fire. The lighting within the surrounding as something is being fired, explosions occurring, the lighting is just... I don't know why I enjoyed the lighting so much, but I really did. As great as this game looks in handheld mode, trust me, you're probably going to love it in docked mode, especially when you have a 40-inch plus TV, UHD, oh my god, you're going to love it. Despite the game's stunning visual upgrades though, the game runs very smoothly on the Switch, and that's something a lot of people really were hoping would happen other than any kind of stuttering, lagging of any kind, but it's buttery smooth. Load times, not as long as I expected them to be. I mean, bear in mind at this point I'm about over 50% through. The controls when it comes to moving Samus around are very snappy, very responsive, fluid, and the return of the melee counter that was introduced in Samus Returns on the 3DS, that just clinched it for me, because I mean, that thing would have been a great help back in the Game Boy Advance days, but we'll let that slide. Nintendo, I know you heard me. Personally, I never got to play Samus Returns, but after experiencing this particular feature myself, I now understand why so many gamers were hyped about it when it was returned back into the franchise. Now, for those of you who ever managed to play Metroid Fusion for the Game Boy Advance, the map is similar to that of Metroid Fusion, but it's been segmented into various biomes that house a variety of enemies. Unlike Fusion, however, the maps on Metroid Dread are huge. One biome map in Dread could probably accommodate 1.5 or 2 biomes from Fusion. That's how large each of the stages are. There is so much to see and do. Similar to some previous entries, some part of the map would require you to have one ability or another, most likely obtained from one other biome, in order to progress and open up the current biome you're in. I mean, similar trend for most Metroid games. Well, like they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't think anyone's going to be upset with that though. There isn't too much that we can tell as a con when it comes to this game. I mean, so far it's been a lot of pros, but if I do have to dig for some cons without being biased towards it, the first one I would want to point out is the fact that boss fights have an element of quick time events to them now. So for people who aren't really used to having those on a Metroid game, yeah, a bit of your God of War experience will probably help you out there. And these events can deviate in a number of ways. There's a point where you need to fire missiles, another point where it's just the lasers, bombs being hurled at the enemy till they explode or turn to space dust as usual. So that was new to me. I did not expect that. So I died quite a good number of times, especially since I'm just used to the usual pew 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 and the cocktail of lasers, bombs, and missiles just being thrown at the enemy, till they evaporate. I'm just old school like that, I guess. All this gave a major justification for the running around, breaking blocks, increasing the missile and energy capacity as usual. But the one thing I was not prepared for, despite all the trailers and the videos I watched before getting the game, the EMI, that's the EMMI, yeah, EMI, as everyone seems to be calling it. They were quite a challenge in their zones, their respective zones, because each one having a specific ability. As at the time I actually started drafting this review, I had only met one of those insane creatures. Now I've met about 4, 5. I now get why most were so frustrated about it. When these creatures get you, you only have about 2 chances of a button press to get yourself out of their grasp, and the chances of nailing that button down at the right time are insane. And there's no specific order to meeting any of these enemies anyways. You just have to hope for the best, hit the button, and well, if you fail, you get murdered instantly. There's no reduction in energy to a point, nothing. You straight up die. Over and over and over. Well, you get the picture. Having to evade the enemy in their zones, I think that's the highlight of the game. If they added a couple more parkour moves into this, that would have been brilliant, because the zones themselves change per enemy, per biome. So at one point you're going to probably end up in water. Spoiler, sorry. Or not, but either which way, there's always going to be some other way you're supposed to traverse their zones in order to evade them. I mean, you will pick up a couple of skills to help you. Those are not mentioned. I want you to find out and die trying. In hindsight, the whole cycle of getting rid of the enemies, it's kind of repetitive, that I'll be honest, in hindsight. But you definitely won't be thinking that way once you're in their zone and trying to make sure they do not find you. So I think that repetitiveness can just easily be chucked out the window. So besides these, I don't even know if I should call these cons, but besides these, honestly, I have no problem whatsoever with Metroid Dread, to be honest. It's the Metroid we've known and loved ever since it was on the Game Boy Black and White. That has been dialed up from 10 to 3000, so there isn't that much to dislike about the game, really. I haven't completed the game yet, but with the way the story is going, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this particular entry is going to end. This has been Taylor from GGN, gassing out. We'll meet in the next Gamescape.